So I built a model to try and focus on all of the different elements that came out from all of my reading and patch it together, break away from any methodology name, and just say any manager, any leader, we can help them look at different distinct parts of what they could influence in their organization, and they can start to at least have a framework by which they can go, oh, do I know enough about my team psychology? Do I know enough about my flow efficiency? And we could piece it together. And maybe I don't know, Dean, whether this is the right way to do this, but I could share my screen and
Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it.
and you can present now a Chrome tab. Okay, let's try that. And I came up with this very, very loose model. And the key was that there were three what I'd call pillars, and that is you have to have the right organization and culture, the right teams, the right psychology, the right, which is the left green vertical, and you had to have the right product and or service to actually be a successful business, and that's where we find things like service design and UX and user-centered, I guess, philosophy. And then we have to be good at it. We actually have to be efficient at it, and we have to be able to put it out with quality. um, and so I've got these kind of three core pillars, which almost every bit of literature I found could fall into one of those. And then what I found was that for each of those pillars, they were influenced by different systems or different levers, we've called them. And the primary lever was leadership. And that was the thing that determined the way an organization reacted to almost everything. If your C-level are pushing a particular philosophy or attitude or culture, then that thing's what's going to survive. If your leadership are pushing a particular form of user centricity or a particular service structure or product kind of image or goal, and constantly talking about that vision, that's what will survive. And if your leadership are focused on utilization efficiency and timesheet analysis to the last second, that's what will survive in your organization. But if they're focused on flow efficiency and throughput and quality, then those things will survive. And so the leadership was the primary lever that influenced those three verticals. Then you had how is that leadership displayed in the systems of the organization, in the finance model, in the policies, in the prioritization, in the access to tools, and in the way you structure your teams and where the silos are in your organization. And then under that, you'd get emergent practice. So within the leadership and the policies and systems of the organization, then the individual contributors across the coalface of the organization would find emergent practices that could work within those boundaries and in those constraints. And so you end up with these 9 intersection boxes, which you need to look at and go, are we doing each of those boxes well? And I just described each of those, that set of boxes, as the organizational dynamics of the organization. So I'm going to stop sharing that.
Yeah, actually, if you could
And
keep it up for a moment, because
oh,
I'm actually
okay, sorry,
I'm quite
I'll
intrigued
reshare it.
by. Thanks.
Sorry,
No problem.
to present now, Chrome tab, organizational.
Yeah, we
Yep,
can cut
cool.
this all out.
No, it's cool. So yeah, so that's where I ended up, and the idea of this entire thing was sense making. It was, I needed people to be able to make sense of a massive amount of literature and knowledge, and figure out, where do I need to most work on my organization? Where are we weakest, and what haven't I got in my repertoire as a leader to help them with? Maybe I feel weak in the culture side and in the psychology. Maybe I feel weak in the flow efficiency and the things that come under that. Maybe I feel weak in entrepreneurship and product and service design.
Like it. And what's striking me at the moment, and what I'm intrigued about, is extraordinary organisations build the right and So build the right, I guess, thing and build it right. So there's an
Yeah, so we've
interesting
got two
distinction
arrows
there.
there because we yeah, so we've got the two arrows, and obviously that build it right and build the right thing is an agile mantra from way back. But here we said they have to build the right organization and culture as well as build the right product and service.
Yeah.
And then once they have those two things figured out, then they can look at optimizing it. Then you can look at the quality and the efficiency. But if you do, it just doesn't make any sense. So actually, this diagram is actually prioritized order in that organization and culture comes before product and service, comes before efficiency and quality, left to right. And leadership comes before systems, comes before practices. And that actually gives you an even more micro prioritization that the bottom right hand corner, efficiency practices, which is unfortunately where Agile focuses most of its um, kind of effort,
Hmm.
is the least priority thing on this 9 box board. The most priority thing to get right is your organization and culture leadership because it has the most influence across your organization, most flow on effect.
Hmm. Hmm. And perhaps one could argue that's actually the hardest thing to do. It's pretty inconvenient. Is
It is
organisation and
absolutely
culture
nailed
and
it.
where intersects of leadership. Yeah, that is the hardest thing.
Yep.
I
Totally.
I
In fact, what we see, and I'll carry on just for a second, this is
mm,
that the top row, the leadership row, and the left column, the organization and culture column, are the weakest pieces, and they're the least likely to have developed method and practice and systems and patterns out there for. And I truly believe it is because they are the place where it's hardest. And so, if you're a leader or a manager or a C level or a consultancy, and you want to help someone shift quickly, and you want to show impact quickly, then going and removing cost from the efficiency column or increasing revenue by changing your sales model um, is the easiest thing to do by far, and that's what we get by from default management consultants. And but the hardest thing to do is go and change culture and organization and maybe restructure um, and the hardest thing to do is to change the leadership of an organization. And because they're in the hard bucket, most consultancies avoid them. Most organizations avoid them because they're not willing to invest for 4 or 5 years, maybe, to go through a full culture change. They want something that's going to happen in 3 months that they can report back to the share market or to their investors and say, we gained £1 million. But that's not really functionally changing the organization for better. And if you start looking at triple bottom line organizations, which I think you and I are, chasing, is where it's planet, people, and product, and profit, if you will, then then if we start really caring about the social impact of our organization and the people of our staff and how much they benefit from being part of our organization and stuff, then the traditional consultancy of increased revenue and sales and reduce costs by firing some staff and chopping a bit of waste out of the system, they're the least effective places to be working from a long term, but they are the best if you want to show short term win.
absolutely, absolutely. And I do worry that organisations which aren't haven't reckoned or acknowledged where they need to place the most focus, and they haven't developed the appetite to change in an environment where the market is becoming more and more disrupted, customers are becoming more fickle, disruptors are entering the market. I do worry about their existence. There is an existential crisis in many incumbent organisations, and their market relevance and the value that they have created and plan to continue to create is going to become more and more diminished. So this is becoming more and more critical.